Welcome to Training on Navigation of the Virtual Training Assistant Learning Management System, its data grids, and records. If you would like a full system demo, or get more information about the VTA LMS, powered by RISC, contact sales at risc-inc.com today. This module will cover a variety of navigation topics. Some are related to the entire VTA system. Others are about the VTA data grids, and there are several regarding the VTA records. Data, tools, and features within a VTA application are first organized into many groups. These are displayed in darker blue on the left menu of each back-office application. As you click on a menu group, it will expand to display the available menu items. You can hover over any icon for each menu item to display its name. As you click on and expand one menu group, the one previously open will collapse. Each menu group will have a set of icons. Clicking an icon will open that data grid. For example, in VTA Administrator, with the Catalog menu group open, you can access the course records, open various master data grids related to your catalog, launch the Find Course tool, and access course utilities. If you then click on the Event menu group, you can access the history, schedule, classroom location, and event utilities. Many groups are available and function the same way in the utilities and evaluator applications. While in VTA, take a moment to open each menu group and hover over each item to become familiar with all data grids and their corresponding icons. Tooltips are small pop-ups that display text for a short period of time over various items as the mouse pointer hovers over it. The tooltip remains visible until you click or move off of the item, or it has timed out. You will observe this throughout VTA, not just, as previously mentioned, when you hover over icons. Tooltips will also appear when you hover over buttons to show their hotkey. Over a Records Browse icon on a data grid to show your selected data. Over a report name to show a brief description of that report. And on some tools, such as the Output to Team feature on the Where tab of a report window, to show the action it will take. Commonly found in web-based applications, breadcrumbs identify where you are within the VTA back-office system. In VTA, they are found at the top of the main workspace, under the VTA application selector links. Breadcrumbs can also be used to easily navigate back to a record or grid. For example, here, you can see that the user is in the student section of the administrator program. They have opened a student record in edit mode and are set to add a new team. By clicking the students portion of the breadcrumb, you will be returned to the student's record at its position within the student grid. If you instead click the student icon within the menu group, from the same system start location of adding a team to a student, you would also be brought back to the student grid. However, you would be brought to the first record within the grid. You would not be returned to the student's record at its position within the student grid. So if you want to return to a grid at the same position as you were when you opened the record, use breadcrumb navigation to save time. Note that if you use breadcrumbs to navigate away from a page before clicking OK and properly saving your changes, you will be prompted that the changes were not saved and be given an opportunity to cancel the action. There will be more on closing, saving, and deleting records later in this module. Hotkeys are a keyboard shortcut for taking an action in VTA without clicking a mouse button. Most VTA actions on the action bar of a grid or record, accessible by clicking the text button, can also be accomplished using its hotkey. If you hover over an action, its tooltip will display its hotkey. For example, hovering over the Delete Text button shows that Alt-X will start the delete action. Hovering over the Add Text button shows that Alt-A will start the add action. Hotkeys can be useful when doing some repetitive VTA actions, such as moving to the next record, or adding several new records. For example, watch as the user is going to launch the Add action on the Roster tab of a schedule record. They will select a student, add another student using the New action on the action bar, and then save and close the roster record. Notice that the mouse never moves. All this is being performed without a mouse click, by using a combination of the Alt-A, Alt-N, and Alt-O hotkeys. For a full list of all available hotkeys in VTA, search for the term hotkey in the VTA Online Help System. Several grids and records will have expandable and collapsible sections that will allow you to save scrolling while navigating grids and adding, editing or browsing records. Simply click the plus for the area you want to expand or the minus on the area you want to collapse. All date fields will allow you to enter a date manually, or select the date value using the VTA calendar feature that is launched by clicking the icon next to the field. Once the calendar icon is clicked, the calendar tool will appear. The current value will be highlighted on the calendar. If you click on a specific date, it will populate the date field. To set the value to the current date, click on the today value at the bottom of the calendar. You can scroll back or forward by month, a full year, or over an entire decade. With the calendar open on a month, click the left arrow to move back 1 month, or the right arrow to move forward 1 month. Click the month at the top of the calendar to see all months within the year. Clicking a month will then open it for date selection. With the calendar open on a year, click the left arrow to move back 1 year, or the right arrow to move forward 1 year. Click the year at the top of the calendar to see all years within a 12-year range. Clicking a year will then open it for month selection. With the calendar open on a 12-year range, click the left arrow to move back 1 decade, or the right arrow to move forward 1 decade. Clicking a year will then open it for month selection. Clicking a month will then open it for date selection. As you access data, make record changes, and resort grids, you can see VTA processing your request via the loading message displayed in the top right corner of the screen, under the RISC logo. Be sure to only take one action at a time within VTA. While it is loading grids, records, or launching a feature, the system will not process additional input. Grid toolbars will vary slightly, depending on the data grid you have open. As long as your VTA role has access rights to the data, you will find the following standard actions available. Add. To add new values to the data grid. Delete. To delete one or more records you have selected. Apply. To apply any changes in your filters and option selections. Export. To export the current grid data to a CSV file, so that it can be opened in an external application, such as Microsoft Excel or Access. By using filters to select the desired records, and options to display the desired fields, you can perform simple ad hoc reporting using the Grid Export feature. Finally, you can use the search tool to look for values in the grid within the sorted column. Simply sort the grid by the data you want to search by clicking on its header, enter a search term into the text box, and either press Enter on your keyboard. Click the search icon to the right of the text box, or use the Alt+S hotkey. If your VTA role does not have full access rights to a data grid, the actions not available to you will be hidden. For example, requirement categories are only available in the master site. If you open the data grid from any other site, the add and delete actions will be hidden. Some data grids and records have additional actions or features, such as the broadcast email, copy class, and move to history features available on the schedule grid. These actions, along with grid filters and options, will be discussed in more depth later, in another VTA lesson. Below each grid are 3 tools to help you quickly navigate your records. First, you can determine the number of records to display per grid page. Simply select 10, 20, or 50 on the Per Page drop-down selector. Note that displaying more records at a time may affect your page loading time, depending on your internet or network speed. Second, you can use paging navigation, including page number selection. This will allow you to go to the first, next, previous, or last grid page. You can also go directly to a specific grid page number by typing the page number in the box and pressing enter. Finally, you can view the count of records returned, according to your filter selections, to the right of the last page button. Each record on a grid will have a checkbox for selection. You can select, or deselect, one or more records by clicking the checkbox with your mouse, or, if you prefer using hotkeys, by pressing your keyboard spacebar while the page is focused on the records checkbox. You can select, or deselect, all visible records in the grid, using the Select All checkbox in the top left corner of the grid. Note that, although you can select multiple records for a delete action, all other actions, such as using the History Grid's broadcast email, or copy class, features, will only work when a single record is selected. If more than one record is selected, those actions will be disabled. To edit any existing record on a grid, click the pencil edit icon to open it in edit mode. The Browse tool can be used two ways. The first way is to hover over the icon. This will display a tooltip with the tooltip fields you selected within the Grid's Options section. This is useful for quickly viewing information about the record without actually having to open it. The second way to use the Browse tool is to click the icon to open the record in Browse mode. No changes are allowed while a record is opened in Browse mode. As previously mentioned, VTA data is first organized into many groups. When you click an icon within a many group, it will open its master data grid. In VTA, we call this the parent data grid. Here we see the VTA team parent grid. By opening the sales team record, we can see information on a general tab. All VTA records will have a general tab. It will display the fields associated to the record with a one-to-one relationship, meaning that there can only be one value set for the record. For example, the sales team displayed can only be associated to one team name value, one active status, and one comment. If a record can be associated to several other records of the same type, those one-to-many relationship records are managed on a child grid. You access these child grids by clicking its tab at the top of the record. Hovering over a tab will display a tooltip with its name. You can see that the sales team has 63 students. 3 requirements. A requirement group, and 2 supervisors associated to it. Because you can associate several of each of these to a single team, you will manage the data on its child grids. Finally, if a record on a child grid can also be associated to several records with a one-to-many relationship, a grandchild grid at the bottom of the open record will allow you to manage them. You can see that the sales team is associated to a requirement group named Sales 101. That requirement group can be associated to more than one course requirement, so a requirements grid is available at the bottom of the record to manage them. Records and features that allow for selection of a course, or a single student, will display an alert icon if no selection has been made. If you click on the icon prior to making a selection, a message will indicate that no selection was made. Once a selection is made, the icon will change to the icon that represents the data selected. For example, on a new schedule record, you must select a course, and you may choose to set a class contact. Once a course is selected, the alert icon is updated to a course icon, and clicking it will display a tooltip with that course's information. Once a student is selected as the class contact, the alert icon is updated to a student icon, and clicking it will display a tooltip with the student's information. This is useful to be sure you have selected the correct course or student when you have several similar values. In order to properly save data changes in VTA, as long as all required fields are populated and data conforms to system rules, click OK on the toolbar, or the change will not be saved. Clicking Cancel on the toolbar will close the record without saving it, or any changes made. On a newly added record, clicking New on the toolbar will save it and immediately open a new record form. On an existing record, clicking Previous or Next will save it and navigate to the previous or next record on the grid. On a newly added record, Clicking Reset on the toolbar will clear all values on the Add Record form. On an existing record, clicking Reset will return all values to their state when it was originally opened. Clicking the red X in the upper right corner of the record, or navigating to another area in VTA during the Add or Edit function, will result in a message alerting you that there are unsaved changes. You can choose to continue without saving, or stay on the record, then click OK, and properly save it. In VTA, you must confirm all record deletions in the system. Once records are selected for deletion, you must click Yes to confirm the delete, or No to reject the delete action, and retain the selected records. For data integrity purposes, there may be times where the system will not let you delete records. For example, if a course instructor has been associated to a schedule or history class session instructor, you will not be able to delete their instructor record on the course. You can, however, inactivate their course instructor record. There may be times when you want to add master data values to VTA while already on an open record. For example, on an open schedule record, perhaps you need to add a new room value not currently available for selection. VTA has an add-on-demand feature to save you time in adding new master data values without exiting a record and having to go to the master data list to add the record, to then return to your original record to select it. You can take advantage of the add-on-demand feature, if available, as long as your site user role has been granted access rights to manage that record type. You will recognize when the add-on-demand feature is available when the data's icon is displayed to the right of the field. Simply click the icon to launch the Add window. In this demonstration, a new classroom is being used for the training. We need to associate a new classroom value to a scheduled event in VTA. We can quickly add the new value while on the open schedule record, without having to close it and go to the master data grid. Simply click the classroom icon, enter the new value, and, because the classroom location is also new, click the icon on the Add Classroom form, enter the new value, and click OK on the Add Classroom Location window, and then click OK on the Add Classroom window. The window will close, the values will be added to the master data grids for future use, and the value is now available for selection in the room field on other schedule or history event records. They can be edited at any time by going to the master data grid for those records. Each VTA record has fields that must be completed before it will properly save and close. Required fields are indicated by a red asterisk next to the field. In this example of a new student record, the ID, last name, and first name fields are required. Middle initial and nickname are not. If a required field is left blank, and you click OK to save the record, an alert message will appear at the top of the record, indicating which required fields were left blank. VTA saves the user ID, date, and time that a record was last changed. Each record has a last changed stamp icon in the top right corner. If you hover over the icon, the last change information is displayed in a tooltip. If you click the icon, the information is displayed in a message window. Once a change is saved for a record, the last changed stamp will display the updated information. Here is a list of VTA records that allow you to control their active status. You can see this list at any time in the Active and Inactive Records chapter of the Navigation section of the VTA Online Help System. A record's active status will allow both VTA Backoffice users and VTA Learner users to access them for searching and reporting purposes. To toggle a record status between active and inactive, simply select or deselect the active checkbox field on the record. This can be done by clicking the box with your mouse, or, if you prefer using hotkeys, by pressing your keyboard spacebar while the page is focused on the active field. When you use a VTA search, or an autocomplete field, only results for active values are returned. When viewing data grids for records with an active status, both active and inactive records are displayed. Inactive records will be displayed in gray text. You can choose to add a grid filter to view active or inactive records only. There are student and course search tools that will allow you to search for inactive values. These tools, grid filters, and other unique actions related to records' active status will be discussed in depth in other VTA training modules. Learn more about RISC and VTA today by visiting some of our online locations. You can easily copy and paste these links from this YouTube video's description. You can access our corporate website, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook page, view our YouTube channel, the VTA user blog, or the VTA user community page, with information posted especially for VTA users like you.